So the other day, Randy Pitchford made a post on Twitter with a poll asking people for their thoughts on the idea of a Borderlands style game which would be an MMO / truly live service game, which would be its own thing entirely, splitting off from the Borderlands franchise. Now, this poll has over 17,000 votes at the time of making this video, as you can see, and the results are kind of mixed here. Now, you might be thinking, looking at this, it's pretty overwhelming that like a lot of people don't want this to happen, right? This 33% on no, but looking at the decisions on here, the maybe, probably, and the yes, I mean, it kind of comes out to a 1 in 3 people don't want it, and then the 2 in 3 do want it. So I wanted to make a video and talk about this and ask the question and pose the question, is a Borderlands MMO coming? But more so, and better yet, I want to just put it like this, it is absolutely coming, and we're going to talk about why. I've had a lot of people asking for my thoughts on this, and I'm going to break it down. I'm going to explain exactly why I think this is going to happen, and let's just jump right into that. So, a Borderlands MMO is basically going to happen. I mean, I'm just going to put it blunt. The fact that Randy has come to Twitter like this, the fact that this is so public to begin with, is already, in my eyes, something which is a question being posed in a door where there is already a foot inside of. Now, I don't think we're going to see a Borderlands MMO next year. I don't think we're going to see a Borderlands MMO tied into Borderlands 4. I think Borderlands 4 is going to operate much like BO3 did, which was live service. And yes, BO3 was live service. If you didn't already know that, then boy, that's another video for another day. But the core here is that I wouldn't be scared of the term live service because they've been practicing this for a long time and it's been very successful for Gearbox. They're actually very good at it, which I know people are going to think that's me on my knees polishing Randy while I'm down there, but I mean, that's just the truth. Borderlands 3 and Wonderlands were both live service, and despite how Wonderlands turned out, they did a really good job at that model of active updates, active changes, active communication with the community, and it's something which this studio has been practicing and they have been pulling off for some time. And so, yes, I don't think we're going to see a Borderlands MMO coming out next year or tied into any mainline game, but I do 100% believe that, especially after they tried to pull off Wonderlands being a spin-off title, they tried to kind of separate that from mainline Borderlands games. I think that's opened the door for them to do that again in the future. For the record, I don't think it works that great. The idea of like, oh hey, here's Wonderlands and here's all these characters from Borderlands, and the ending of this is direct continuation, or rather prequel, sorry, to a Borderlands DLC, but it's not a Borderlands game. I don't think that really works, but I do think they'll do the same thing with the MMO. I think there will be many characters from Borderlands that you will recognize, know and love, but they'll try to say that it's not really a mainline Borderlands game, it's kind of its own thing, a spin-off. But the key thing to take away is that I do think it's absolutely happening, whether you like it or not. The reason why is very simple. Money. Money. There are a few things we need to take into account here. 2K absolutely loves money, and Take-Two absolutely loves money. It's crazy to me that Borderlands has been going on for so long and 2K hasn't managed to get to Gearbox and put tons of microtransactions in Borderlands. The reason why I say this is because of the NBA franchise and the WWE 2K franchise. These games are heavily monetized, especially through like in the form of WWE, which I'm familiar with. The My Faction game mode is monetized out the wazoo, where they drip feed the actual currency to you, and the paid currency is what they're incentivizing you to get so you can buy packs and whatnot. I am shocked that this has not made it into Borderlands yet, and it makes sense that the way that this would make it into Borderlands is through an MMO and true live service model, which isn't really the same as what Borderlands and Wonderlands are. That's more pseudo live service. But I do absolutely think if they do a Borderlands MMO, it's going to be chock full of microtransactions, and I don't think that's a bad thing, and I'll talk about that more in a few minutes. But also on the subject of, you know, getting their claws into Gearbox, I think 2K will absolutely get their own way when it comes to monetization and whatnot with that kind of MMO structure. And I also think that Take-Two 100% following the acquisition would be interested in getting this kind of game done. It is clear that the Borderlands franchise is not done. Despite what your local walrus in the community is telling you, this is a franchise which is absolutely going to continue. There is going to be a Borderlands 4. There is going to be a Wonderlands 2. There might be a new Tales 3. We are looking at a franchise which is probably going to be milked to its last teat is empty. And I don't mean that in a harsh way, I mean that in the most truthful way possible because of the Take-Two acquisition. To me, it is just a no-brainer that Borderlands, from their perspective and from 2K's perspective, who still have a large stake in Borderlands, that this is a series with a lot more money to give, and business is all about money. It's okay for me to sit here and say, what about the players? But ultimately, it comes down to that, money. Now, you can hate that. You can kick and scream about that. You can shout at me in the comments about that. You can call me a mega shill for that. But unfortunately, this is the real world, and if you truly say that you see no interest from their perspective in a Borderlands MMO, and I mean there as in 2K, Gearbox, Take-Two, then we're not looking at the same franchise or business. This is the obvious move going forward for them. They've got experience with handling this kind of upkeep. They've got a world which is technically infinite in terms of what they can do, the characters they can bring in. Randy in the past has already spoke about the Borderlands cinematic universe, whatever that's supposed to mean, and so it definitely would not shock me if this was the beginning of that. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, if they do a Borderlands MMO, I'm not gonna play it, Epic. I'm not buying it. I'm out. And I'm here to say, you're lying. And I mean that. You really are lying. You are going to play it. I'm going to play it. Everyone's going to play it. Of course we're going to play it because we're Borderlands fans at heart. I don't care how much you complain about the game on a day-to-day basis. You are going to play it when they release it. And the sooner you get that through your head, the better. Because if you weren't going to play it, you wouldn't be on this video right now. And so while we're ripping the band-aid off from hard truths that you need to hear, here's another one. Microtransactions. It is not that bad of an issue. I know people like to demonize microtransactions, but it is such blind rage and blind hate, and I'm going to make that very clear right now. I am not afraid of these like hate bandwagons where it's like, he hates microtransactions, he's against the players, get him. Listen, in 2012 we had over 40 microtransactions in Borderlands 2, and every single one of them was paid for by the community prior to the release of the Handsome Collection, and no one complained. So please do pardon me if I refuse to jump on board this massive hate storm of like, no, I'm not paying for those microtransactions. Screw you guys. If an MMO launches and they put in $42 microtransactions for cosmetics, I am buying them. I'm just going to make that very clear. I am buying them. Does that make me part of the problem? Sure. But you know what? It also makes me a consumer, and I like to consume, and I will consume. This is content which I will quite literally consume. I will put my money into that if it is good, if it is worth my time. There is a notion in video games nowadays that consumers shouldn't have to pay for things, and that even if it's worth your time, it's owed to you because you got your initial purchase of the game down, and that's just not how that works. Now, there is a caveat to my take here, and it's that I don't think the way they did microtransactions in Borderlands 3 was cool at all. The final form costumes that they released being $10 each, or I don't know what it was for all of them, but I know they were $10 each per costume. You can get all the way out of here with that. If they put that in there, then we're going to have a different conversation. But assuming that they're putting in minor microtransactions like that into a Borderlands MMO, I'm kind of fine with that, you know? At the end of the day, if the game is brimming with content, if it's providing content, if every month there is something new to do in that game for like 2 or 3 years, and it's constant upkeep, then count me in. I absolutely would be interested in that, whether you like it or not. Now, let's talk about something that is very important on the subject of a Borderlands MMO, and it is absolutely, positively, that they should probably think about outsourcing this game, or they need to severely downsize or downgrade their systems. I don't know how they are going to do a Borderlands MMO in current universe Borderlands, and I say that because Borderlands 3 and Wonderlands barely function in multiplayer as is, with 2 people nuking enemies on one screen. So to me, if they do a Borderlands MMO, I'm going to call my shot right here. I guarantee they are going to cap instances to a very small number of players. There is no shot they're going to allow 16 people in the same room nuking stuff, because if they do, that's not running on future gen, let alone current gen. Now, the answer to this, I don't know what it is. This is where my experience with game design and whatnot completely falls on its face. Like, I don't know how they're going to get around that. Do you downgrade on your systems? Do you outsource to another company? Do you change the way your matchmaking works? I know a lot of people instantly jump to, well, shift is the problem. What about shift? They need to dump shift. But I don't think shift is the problem with their optimization. My biggest concern with the idea of a Borderlands Borderlands MMO is potentially doing it under Unreal Engine, which I don't see them doing personally, just because of the constant numerous optimization issues that Unreal has. Unreal Engine 4 and 5 are notorious for having horrible issues with shader caching specifically, and other minor issues when it comes to optimization. Borderlands 3 in particular is horribly optimized. Wonderlands is slightly better, however, they still suffer major issues, and I don't know if I want to see a Borderlands MMO on that engine, and I don't know what the right answer is here either. But I do think I would like to see Gearbox outsource a Borderlands MMO. Now, I know that outsourcing might sound like a bad thing to you guys, because obviously they outsourced for the Wonderlands one-shot, for the Dragon Keep spin-off they did, right? That obviously did not go to plan. That was filled with bugs. They never fixed those bugs. A lot of people felt like they got burned by that. Same with the Borderlands 1 remaster. They did that under Blind Squirrel Games, and look how that turned out. So, I understand concern with outsourcing. I definitely share those concerns. I do, however, I almost just don't want to see Gearbox tackle this alone. You know, that's just my honest take on it. I don't know if I want to see them tackle it alone, and I genuinely don't know what company I'd like to see help them with it. But if a Borderlands Online does happen, it needs to happen under a different scope than the current Borderlands games are happening under, because I just don't see their online functioning at all. Like, I straight up just don't see that working. But I do think, regardless of everything I've said in this video, I do think a Borderlands MMO is going to happen inevitably. I don't think it's a matter of if, I think it's a matter of when, which is why I've said, regardless of what you or I think, it doesn't matter. It's not worth crying over the idea of it. It's not worth the idea of like trying to say, no, don't do this, my favorite franchise, I'm gonna boycott. Listen, it's most likely happening, and you need to decide in this moment, are you going to stay along for the ride, or are you hopping off now? But if you're here for this video, you've probably got some remote interest in it, and I gotta say, it's a scary proposition. It's a scary idea. Change is scary, but I do think something new and something different could shake up this universe in a way that's needed, and ultimately, it may end up being a good thing for them if they pull it off. Now, will they pull it off? We don't know. That's for them to do. But I do hope they pull it off, because obviously, the more success the franchise has, the better, right? No one wants to see the franchise die unless you're one of the new creators trying to grow your channel. But if you're a player, obviously you want more quality games. So why wouldn't you want something to succeed if they try it? Despite what I say about New Tales, I obviously want that game to be good, but then obviously I played in, you know, well, but you get my point. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling. That's my take on it. A lot of people have been asking me for it, so there it is. There's my take on Borderlands Online. I know a lot of you aren't gonna like my take, and honestly, I don't expect much different, because there is a lot of people in the Borderlands community that just don't go into things with an open mind. They don't think about stuff logically, and I know that can be a little bit dangerous and refreshing to hear when someone's got a different take like that, but that's how I feel about it ultimately, and I think it's going to be an exciting year. I ultimately think very soon, when we have hands-on with Borderlands 4, we will be getting a lot of answers in general to what their vision is for the franchise in terms of mainline games, and I'm pretty excited to see what their vision would be for something new and exciting like an MMO, because for those of you who know me and have been around the channel for a while, you know that I've wanted Borderlands Online for a very long time. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. Please sub for more. We do more content like this on the channel all the time, so if you're new around here, don't forget to hit the sub button and leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and guys, I'll check you in the next one. Take it easy.